What do giraffes, marsh harrier birds and theatre have in common? Can you guess? That is right. They're all featured on today's program. I am Sandra Twinovideo here in Kampala, Uganda. Welcome to Eco Africa.
And a warm welcome from me too. I'm Chris Alems in Lagos, Nigeria. As you've just heard from Sandra, we've got plenty of interesting reports in store for you. Here is a quick look at what's coming up. We'll see how a quarry is being transformed into a haven for birds. How winemakers are adapting to climate change. And how a theatre group promotes environmental awareness. When you think of endangered species in Africa, animals like rhinos, elephants and pangolins quickly come to mind. But for more than 5 years now, giraffes have also been on the red list of species threatened with extinction. So scientists from an NGO based in Namibia have been studying giraffe populations very closely, and they now say they have reasons to be cautiously optimistic.
Most people are familiar with giraffes, but far less is known about them than many realize. What's certain is that they are the world's tallest land animals, which enables them to reach leaves high on trees in the African savanna. What's lesser known is that giraffes are incredibly fast. In short bursts, they can run up to 60 kilometers an hour. Beyond that, there are still many unanswered questions about them. What are the different species? How many giraffes currently live in the wild? In Namibia, biologists Lachlan McFeeters and Jody Mitchell-Moore want to learn more. They photograph every giraffe they see so they can be identified later.
Another adult female, right 8573.
Observational studies like these have concluded that there are currently only 117,000 giraffes in Africa. By comparison, there are nearly 4 times as many elephants.
If you think about something like an African elephant, they're in the around that 400,000 mark, I believe, individuals. So if you think that compared to 117,000 individuals, it's pretty incredible for such a large browser species that is kind of one of the most iconic species in Africa, really.
There's been very little work done on them. I suppose the priority in the past has been some of the more sexier species like elephant and lion, and giraffe have sort of gone under the radar. And I think because they are quite widespread throughout Africa, you feel like you see them everywhere.
But that is deceptive. Climate change and humans clearing land for settlements and agriculture has led to a substantial loss of habitat for giraffes. In the past 30 years, the population of these graceful animals has sunk by about a third. Waste in rivers also threatens their drinking water. When tourist numbers dropped due to the COVID pandemic, these guides started picking up the trash instead, which will benefit the giraffes in the long term. Protecting these animals has a long history in Namibia.
If I can tell you more a little bit about the Bushmen, they were not killing giraffe at all. Even during their hunting activities, they were not targeting giraffes because they thought it was the tallest animal, and they realized that killing a giraffe, you are cutting communication between yourself and the ancestors.
This was once considered a sacred sport. 3,000-year-old cave drawings prove how important giraffes were to the people living here. They were regarded as bringers of life.
They believe in the giraffe that they might extend their neck and touch the clouds and make it rain. So good rain is a good happy year for them.
While giraffes in Western and Central Africa are still under threat, their numbers in Namibia and its neighboring countries are actually increasing, rising from 30,000 to almost 50,000. That's largely because they are better protected here in national parks. This is Dan Vision Game Reserve located near Namibia's capital, Windhoek. Today, kids from a children's home are hoping to get their first glimpse of a real giraffe. A giraffe skull like this one is very heavy. The animals sometimes use the bony projections called ossicons in combat with other animals.
Like old wood.
Standing next to a leg bone gives the kids an interesting sense of proportion.
I usually like giraffes. I love the colors, and it's also tall, like I am tall.
Very strong. So giraffe kicks are very powerful. That's how they defend themselves from predators. For example, lions. So they can kick a lion.
The children won't have an easy time spotting the animals today. Giraffes are shy. This turtle, on the other hand, wasn't too hard to catch.
Don't put your fingers next to the mouth.
It's hoped that if children learn about the animals in their region, they'll be more likely to fight to protect them in the future.
Sometimes we get a group of kids, and when they see animals, for example, a giraffe, they'll tell you it's an elephant, or they see a wild beast and they'll tell you it's a horse. And that's surprising because we have so many wildlife in the country. That's why we think there is a need in environmental education and that this program is actually making a change in these people's lives.
Giraffes prefer leaves from bushes and trees along river courses. Acacia trees are among their favorites. Biologist Lachlan McFeeters say that as a result, they don't compete with livestock for food, making conflicts with farmers rare. So far, the scientists have counted 450 giraffes here in northern Namibia, and they are doing all they can to make sure these elegant creatures survive.
We'll stay on the subject of wildlife conservation for now. But for our next report, we'll travel thousands of kilometers north to Britain, where it's winter right now. That means it's pretty wet and cold outside. Definitely not giraffe country.
That is true, Chris, but there are some very happy birds there. Ornithologists have created a natural paradise for the endangered species in a working sand and gravel quarry. Believe it or not, holes created by the digging are landscaped and allowed to fill in with water, providing the birds with just what they need.
This is a marsh harrier flying over to our left now.
The sight of a bird that almost became extinct flying overhead is always a thrill for Chris Hudson, Senior Site Manager at the Oosven Nature Reserve, and ornithologist Richard Gregory. The birds flock here because they like the wetlands and the reserve's many pools of water.
We've been restoring a working sand and gravel quarry to one of the biggest wetland projects of its kind in Britain, if not Europe. So we're turning the quarry back into a nature reserve and creating 460 hectares of reed bed in a 7 square kilometre nature reserve. So we're really working at scale, which is what we need to do to bring back some of these most threatened species.
The number of endangered birds is rising dramatically in the UK. Today, 70 species are on its red list, double the number in 1997. The Oosven Nature Reserve was founded to improve habitats for wildlife and protect species from extinction.
A magnificent bird of prey is the marsh harrier, once a bird that was highly endangered within the United Kingdom, but through protection and enhancement of wildlife sites like Oosven, the populations have bounced right back.
Not only marsh harriers, but also rare great white egrets have made a comeback. And the bittern population here in the nature reserve is now bigger than the bittern population in the whole of Britain 25 years ago.
Nature and natural regeneration does much of the work for us, and really it's quite often a case of just creating the space, making the right basic conditions, and then nature will look after the rest.
The Oosven Nature Reserve is helping wildlife thrive. As Chris Hudson puts it, give nature a chance and it will return.
A great example of how to let nature reclaim territory. Most of the time, we use nature for our own benefit to grow crops for food. But climate change has made that more complicated, as the wine growers in Italy have formed. The grapevines are suffering from drought stress, which often results in crop failure. Now, one family near Naples is seeking to counteract the problem by returning to traditional wine growing methods.
Everything's done painstakingly by hand in the Papa family's vineyard. That includes harvesting the grapes. But the yield isn't as good as in the past. Temperatures are rising here in this region north of Naples. And there's no indication that conditions will improve in the coming years.
The heat and dryness of the past few years put the vines under enormous stress. They can dry out. You see it first by the leaves and later by the grapes. How burned they look. Many of them never even ripened.
Those grapes are left to rot, showing how far climate change is pushing wine growing to its limits. The Papas have been trying to combat the effects using traditional means. They let weeds grow in the vineyard to keep moisture in the soil longer. They maintain the 70-year-old vines so that the deep roots can gather the very last drops of water from the ground.
Many of the vintners have torn out the old vines and replaced them with new ones, because the younger plants can produce more wine. Old vines don't yield anywhere near as much. But these types of vine have had centuries to adapt to the territory and the climate here. That's made them more flexible in reacting to these drastic climatic changes of recent years.
This approach may work for the smaller wine growers like Antonio Papa. But to ensure that they'll have something to harvest as the heat and dryness increase in the coming years, the larger producers take it a step further.
We're bringing what's known as the wild American vines that grow in the arid regions of North America to Italy, and developing hybrids with them. We grow new plants from the seeds, and once they blossom, we can cross their genetic material with other grapevines.
It takes meticulous work in the laboratory to create these genetic hybrids. The resulting new varieties are then tested throughout the country and grafted onto the quality Italian grape varieties.
1 hectare of the conventional vines needs about 82,000 hectolitres of water per year. 1 hectare with our new rootstock, on the other hand, only needs 60,000 hectolitres. That's a revolution.
That means 1/4 less water consumption for the same yield. Antonio Papa is also interested in trying out the new variety. But this vintner is mindful of history and its lessons. Uphill from his vineyard stand the ruins of ancient Roman villas. Wine was grown on this spot over 2,500 years ago. He wants to learn from the ancient Romans.
Modern technology should help us to understand the old traditions better, but not replace that older knowledge. We need to return to the old values, to arrive at an agriculture that consumes fewer resources, while at the same time producing a wine that's in harmony with the land.
The Roman Empire fell long ago, but the wine and the knowledge about it still exist. That's why the wine growers are ready to adapt if necessary, to be able to continue their long tradition despite the increasing heat and drought.
Do you like avocados? While many swear by their nutritional value, others criticize the way the plant is cultivated. But as global demand for the green fruit increases, some farmers here in Nigeria see it as a way of securing a new income stream. But is there a way to grow the plant more sustainably? Eco Africa takes a look at some eco-friendly avocado fields.
It's a small cut that promises great results. Adeniyi Sholabumi is showing other farmers how to graft avocado plants. He slices a jumbo avocado, cutting onto a smaller Hass avocado plant already growing in soil. Hass avocados are smaller than the standard jumbo variety found at the local markets. More and more farmers in Nigeria want to grow avocados because they're far more profitable than other crops. Nicknamed green gold, the global appetite for avocados is soaring, especially in Europe and the US. But growing them requires huge water supplies. But the Hass variety, which Sholabumi works, requires less water. Adeniyi Bumi has learned environmentally friendly methods to farm them in Kenya and Israel. Farmers in these two countries are very experienced with cultivating avocados in dry soils.
We know that as avocado is a huge feeder, it takes a lot of nutrient of the soil. So we make sure that we have compost in place that we're putting as back into the soil because we're trying to practice an organic system of production.
With his company Go Green Africa, he wants to export to the European market. Peter Kariuki is an avocado expert from Kenya. He regularly gives Bumi cultivation advice. Bumi attended one of his training sessions and now trains other farmers in Nigeria. Kariuki also taught him how to prepare the earth. The best method is to mix coconut fibers with the sandy soil underneath.
The cocoa pit will absorb some water and put it's like a sponge. It will take the water from all the other sides of the soil and put it near to the seedling or your tree. So all the time your tree will be moist. You see. So with the drip irrigation, that type of irrigation, all the time you see that you have water. So the ecosystem, we won't waste a lot of water trying to feed these avocado trees.
It takes 2,000 liters to produce 1 kilogram of avocados, compared with 1 kilogram of oranges, which need only 500 liters of water. Avocado cultivation is therefore best in areas with abundant water supplies like Ogun. Farmer Olarotimi sows his crop fields here too. Since training with Adeniyi Bumi, he also uses drip irrigation for growing peppers.
With this new method, we could set up a drip irrigation system that makes water availability within the environment stable, while we also continue with our crop production without one affecting the other adversely.
Olarotimi wants to grow avocados too. He can order organic Hass seedlings from abroad for around €1 each. The investment does pay off. After 2 to 3 years, he can earn almost €30 per kilogram of avocados, a much higher price than with other fruits and vegetables. Currently, Nigeria doesn't have a big avocado export. Last year, about 120 avocado farmers joined forces to change that. And there are always training sessions where the farmers want to learn how to cultivate. Former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo now heads the Avocado Association Nigeria. He's lobbying to massively expand the country's avocado export.
Avocado has been with us for ages, but we did not fully appreciate its value.
Adeniyi Sholabumi wants to further promote avocado cultivation in Nigeria. He knows if farmers here learn how to use less water and conserve resources, they can increase their profits.
Kenya has been grappling with drought for decades, but the situation is particularly bleak at the moment. There's been no rain for months. The soil is too dry and hard to plant crops or vegetables, and cattle are also dying.
That is right, Chris. Experts say 2 million people are faced with starvation. The crisis is partly due to global warming, but radical deforestation is also to blame. Now, rather than simply telling people to stop chopping down trees, one group has come up with a creative way of effecting change.
The music and festive atmosphere soon attracts a crowd. The Safe Pwani theatre group is performing today in Bomani in southern Kenya. The play is about everyday hardship, environmental issues and climate change. It's called Miongo, that means decades in Swahili. It sweeps through the last 40 years, starting in 1981, when nature here was still intact. But years of deforestation have followed to feed the charcoal industry. What will things look like in the future? Group manager David Kalume takes the audience on a journey. Where did we go wrong, he asks. What can we do differently to ensure the next 10 years will be better? The story ends in the year 2031.
It just put people on the mirror for them to see that this is exactly what I'm doing. So what can I do? So theater has been, it's just a reflection of their life. So from the reflection you can understand, it's like a mirror. If you have something, dirt on your face, then it's time for you now to try to clear the dirt. So this is exactly what we're doing.
Safe Pwani's activists know people here are faced with existential problems. Only 3 months ago, 40-year-old Chaka Majaliwa settled in this village, a 2-hour drive from Mombasa, with his 50 cattle. But now his herd is dying of starvation.
I have to buy the calves milk because their mothers have no milk to suckle them. They don't even have the strength to stand up.
They don't have the energy to graze on the field's sparse green. Chaka Majaliwa has to help them up. Today he's assisted by some of David Kalume's actors currently touring the area.
We're here because we're working on a program on environment. Mostly what we're doing is looking at community resilience towards climate change. As we can see that the weather patterns are changing, we can see that the climate is not as it was some years back.
For one, the dry season is getting longer. Sometimes it doesn't rain for months on end now. The theatre group has invited locals to a workshop to talk about their troubles. The team hopes participants can pass on what they learn here to other villagers. One of them is 68-year-old Kilawa Kitome.
If everyone plants trees, it will be good for the environment. Living conditions will be better, and that will keep people healthier.
The retired civil servant has planted a range of trees, from casuarinas to blue gum and neem trees. They provide shade and protect the ground from drying out. Locals fell trees to clear the land for agriculture, but that makes the ground even drier, so harvests are poor. They end up resorting to selling charcoal, but that's made from trees, so they're locked in a vicious circle. In the workshops facilitated by parent NGO Safe Kenya, the Safe Pwani team helps locals develop alternatives.
So we believe that it's the people who, first of all, started the problem, and it's the people who can solve their own problem. So to us, it's us now coming to just make them realize this is where we went wrong. And then after there, is them now to look at the solutions and how to... Ours is only to facilitate these discussions, facilitate them coming together. That is what we're doing much, but the solution is coming directly from the people.
After 2 months of consultations and conversations, the theatre group's latest tour is drawing to a close now. The Safe Kenya NGO aims to boost people's resilience amid the climate crisis and inspire them to find solutions. The audience have got the message.
I have learned that when we manufacture charcoal, it has many negative effects on our land.
Things will change because there will be no more cutting down of trees. And if people get tree seedlings, they will plant them, and the current situation will improve.
Kilawa Kitome is also among the audience. His tree planting has often been mocked by his neighbours. Now he's been vindicated. And he's determined to keep planting new trees and hopes more villagers will follow his lead. It's the only way they can secure their future.
Never give up, keep looking for solutions and ways out of the crisis. That's the key. And that's what we aim to do each week here on Echo Africa. So be sure to tune in again next time. Until then, I am Chris Alem signing off from Lagos.
And it is a goodbye from me as well, but don't forget you can always check in with us anytime on our social media platforms. So let us stay in touch. I am Sandra Twinovidio here in Kampala, Uganda. See you all next week.